Yow, this is Kalkin here from Tony Hawk Pro Skaters, and I'm here to give you an overview of Badlands defense, starting of course with Badlands last. Now first things first, I've got to get it out of the way, is sticky trapping the last point. And a lot of people at the lower levels do this wrong from the start. You'll see people do something like this, where they put a bunch of stickies down, in a nice little circular shape, but if a scout were to run all the way to the back of the point, that wouldn't quite kill you. He'd survive, he'd cap the point. So first off, don't make that dumb fucking mistake. Really, it's not hard, just 5 or so stickies minimum on the point. You can put all 8 if you'd like, but generally what I like to do is use a ratio of 5 to 3. So I put 5 or so stickies, making sure they cover the entire point, and then I can have another trap elsewhere if I'd like, or I just put the other 3 on the point. Now, other traps you can use when you're defending Badlands last, of course, you've got 3 up here. You can put them on the stairs, whatever, you can put them up above. Try and get the medic. Put them in these. There's an awful lot of options for the second trap on Badlands last, but usually when you're doing that, you have 5 on the point, and the 3 will be enough to kill a medic or something else elsewhere. The only time that you should ever realistically have no stickies on the point at all would be if you are at an extreme uber disadvantage and you guys are going to be pushed on and you basically need to drop their medic. And in that kind of situation, you can do something like this where, say, you just wiped it mid and they're going to be rushing in really fast. You can put a sticky trap up here, 4-4, watch it from here. And you don't have anything on the point because it's like you're going to be pushed on anyway. So if you drop their medic, it's better. There's a bunch of other stuff you can do as well when you're trying to get a medic to drop. It's just putting stickies up here. The trick to this one is that what you do is if you're expecting them to come through main, you wait until you see the soldier, the pocket soldier, come through, and you'll see that he's being healed. And as soon as he's within sight, usually that means that the medic is within sight of the stickies, and so you just det when you see the soldier, and that should kill him. There's some other things you can do as well, and that would require you to not have stickies on the point, but that'd be something like this. I learned this trick from Double-Locked, where if, say, you guys are going to have to fall back to last, but you have a little bit of spare time, a lot of medics like to hold up in this area, and what you can do is put some traps in this, and you'll very commonly see a medic holding up here with this pocket soldier right here, or you see a medic holding right here trying to heal his teammates. And he'll think he's perfectly safe. And at this point, you probably won't have any stickies on the point because you're doing something tricky like this to try and get their medic to drop. But you can see this area directly from spawn through the windows, or even from here. So as soon as you see the medic over there, you can drop, get him down. If you miss, whatever, just put stickies back on the point. So those are some basics as to where your sticky trap should be. Remember, 5-3, and the only time that you shouldn't have 5, at least 5 on the point, is when you're putting another trap elsewhere. A slight note is that some scouts, particularly the likes of faggots like Oplad, and any scout he's with, are very mean bastards, and what they'll try and do to you is they're going to sit back here, pull out their pistols, and just pistol snipe your stickies repeatedly, and they're not going to stop. And if that starts happening, you're going to have to keep spamming stickies on the point, but something you're going to have to do is you're going to have to call a soldier or somebody to drop down really quickly and spam them, or drop down yourself and just spam some pipes at them and just make them fall back. Because if that keeps happening and you get pushed on while you're still actively distracted because of those scouts, it's going to be a problem. So usually get some help or do it yourself, spam them back. But make sure that they don't have a sniper, because if they have a sniper, they could very well be baiting you to drop down or baiting somebody else to drop down and get into line of fire of the sniper and die. So sticky traps done with. Now we're going to go over some positioning on Badlands last specifically. Now there's two sides on Badlands last, and most people just kind of play whatever, and they don't really have a method or reason as to why they play it. Now you shouldn't do that. You should have a reason as to why you're in the position you are. And starting with right side. Right side is generally a position that you're in when you're at some kind of uber advantage, or you have tied ubers, because that way as a demoman you can stick with your medic. You can when you get pushed on, you're with your medic, over here, you'll get ubered, you'll get saved, you won't have to fall back into spawn, which is a great deal, because that means a lot, because as soon as a demo spawn, falls back into spawn, what a lot of teams will do is they'll beta scout on the point instantly, knowing he can't put stickies back at that point, and then somebody else will just get on that point and cap it. So that's the opening they're trying to look for. And if you guys have tied Ubers and you're on right side with your medic, then you're very likely not going to have to fall into spawn, and you're very likely not going to go down. You can stay in a position of power up and height advantage, spamming stickies on this point. Also, as teams are coming in, you're in a good position to spam them, make sure they pop early, which is also pretty great. But if you're at an Uber disadvantage, if you don't have tied Ubers, if they're going to Uber on you guys and you're going to have to fall back into spawn immediately, typically a better position I find that it is to play is to come over on far left side, and you'll have your soldier over on right side, because they're going to Uber in that way. But at least if you're out on left side, the advantage here is that when they push over there, you don't have to fall immediately into spawn. Very likely you will get pressured, but it's harder for them to pressure you since you can actually fight back against the targets, since they won't have the shiny. So that's a major point most people don't understand about Badlands Last, is that Uber advantage, right side, generally a better idea. Not having Uber advantage being an Uber disadvantage for Demoman specifically, generally a better idea to go left. As well, when you're left side, you have a better sight, so you can call if somebody's trying to jump from main or whatever. Spamming bottom left as well. Now, that's generally how you would hold Badlands Last. But I'm going to move up now, and I'm going to go to Spire. Now, when you're trying to hold Spire, there's some things you got to keep in mind. A lot of people do this wrong. Let's say you wiped at mid, or you died early at mid, and they're already putting pressure on Spire, or they're going to be putting pressure on Spire soon, and you're going to be one of the first people that can put damage on Spire. What a lot of people are going to do is they're going to, naturally, people are going to come up and they're going to try and put pressure on Spire from up here, which is really dumb. It's dumb because anybody on Spire has clear line of sight. They see you as soon as you go in all the way back there. If it's a soldier, he's going to be able to easily spam rockets on you. Very likely it'll be a soldier. You're not going to be able to get in range to deal damage. You're going to take too much damage before you even get in range. Now, a better option would be instead, say you respawn or there's people on Spire and you need to approach it from a safe direction, is to come right side. And you come right side for several reasons. One, you come up, it's very hard to flank you, it's very hard to get at you, because you come over on right side, you look through valley, and you really just go flick, see through it, you see everything. So if there's anything that's going to come at you in the next 10 seconds, you're going to see it coming, and so you'll be able to know it's there, put stickies down, or something else. If you don't see anything, you have time to just go straight to Spire. And it's a good idea to come from here, because they have much less time to react to you. By the time they see you, you're already in sticky range, and you can spam them off of Spire. Slightly charged stickies or even static stickies, and you can also dodge between both this and this without them being able to kill you or put too much damage on you. Another reason why this is a good idea defensively as a position is that if they do something about it, if they try to charge you, for instance, if a scout's on Spire, a very likely play that you are going to see if you approach from the right side is that scout is going to jump at you and get off of Spire and try and go straight for you. It's hard for him to kill you, though, from this position, because you can just fall back, put stickies on the ground, and because it's a very narrow corridor, you're at a very advantageous position. He can't get to you if you put stickies on the ground. You can try, certainly. You'll most likely die 80% of the time. The other 20% of the time is probably because you overextended. Another way you can hold Spire that's a little safer or better than just approaching straight from top left, if there's a stacked Spire, of course, is to just go bottom left, come down, and start charging stickies from here. This way, again, nobody can really spam you or put too much damage in you. It's really easy to dodge spam. It's harder for them to do anything about it without actually falling down into... But you have a relatively safe position here, and especially because they can't immediately get people around Spire. Their team has to walk all the way around. So you can just charge stickies, throw them up on the point, spam it, and usually that's going to be enough to get people off. Usually, as well, what's going to happen is you're going to have your team down here as well. Your medic, your pocket are probably going to be down here. Your roam might be here as well. So it's also a good position to hold it from a stacked Spire. Those are generally the two positions you're going to play when you're stopping a stacked Spire, is either bottom left or top right. And those are positions you should play. I can already explain why coming from middle is bad. Coming from Graybridge directly is also a bad idea most of the time, because if there's a Demoman alive, then this is going to be sticky, without a doubt. If there's a soldier on Spire, then without a doubt he can spam you down and take you down really easily. If there's only scouts, and if you know that there's only a scout on the point, and they don't have soldier support or demo support, and your flank is fine, then sure, you can actually try and stop Spire from here, since you don't have to charge stickies, you can just throw them up, spam them off. But in any other situation, it's probably a bad idea. Great Bridge is a death trap for pretty much any class in the game when there's people on Spire. Although you'll see a lot of your soldiers jump from here, but it's certainly not something you should be doing. Jumping Spire as a Demoman is an opportunity. It is something that you can do, but generally try to avoid it if possible, because you're much better off playing further back and abusing your prowess at range through charged stickies. Now, let's say you don't have to worry about a stacked Spire. You're more worried about holding Yard, and say you didn't quite wipe it mid, half your team's up, or you managed to push them back from a stacked Spire, then you're going to be holding up in this area, and you're going to be watching the major chokes. You should probably never be in Valley. That's what your scouts and your roam are going to be dealing with, and they're probably going to be pushing up your house as well. That's not something that you're going to do. Now, defensively, first things first, obviously enough, you have to put up sticky traps, and there's a lot of options here. The tried and true sticky trap for Badlands Yard is the bush. The bush trap is a good trap just because it takes advantage of people's natural movement. They want to take advantage of height advantage, or scouts want to try and get on the point as fast as they can. So very often people will run over this, and you get a pick this way. Usually the only reason that this trap won't work is because either it was checked, or because the team's trying to push on you directly with all their players down here, so nobody's going to go for Spire immediately. Other traps you can do are, of course, you can just put 4 up there. Stickying the battlements is generally a good idea. 3 to 4. Now, with sticky traps in general, just a slight tip is that you always want to use a ratio of either 5 to 3 or 4 to 4. Having a ratio of 6 to 2 or something like that is generally a dumb idea, because if there's an overhealed soldier that comes through on the 2 side, then that soldier's not going to die. He's probably not even going to take much damage at all. The only thing you're actually going to kill with a 2 sticky trap most of the time will be a scout if you're lucky and you react fast enough. 3 will generally kill a soldier if he's half overhealed. 4 will definitely kill a soldier no matter what, as long as you did it properly. So generally 5-3 or 4-4. So if you're holding Badlands Yard, you'd have 2 traps up most of the time. Very easy combinations would be like 3 here, 5 here, or you just do 4-4. But there are some other traps that you can use when you're holding this, when you're talking specifically about Troke, which are a little fun. Just for starters, if you notice that a team likes to have medics that like to hold back or play up in this position, that's one. One that's a little hard to use is this rock trap, and the reason why it's hard to use is because you can only do it when the other team isn't really looking, and it's kind of hard to get the stickies perfect in it so they're invisible. So when you're trying to do this trap, generally what you should do is try and spam them back with some pipes first, so they're not looking. Another trap you can do, let's say this one I've only ever had work for me in situations where we're falling out of mid early, and we have most of our team up, so when I'm falling and I know we're going to fall out, I can put this up and then fall out and do Yard, and that's probably the only time you're going to ever be able to get it to work as well. So that's another effective trap that can be used. If you notice that the other team likes to have soldiers to jump in on you, it's a very high-risk play. Well, actually, no, it's kind of a low-risk play of having a roaming soldier swing bomb on you and trying to get ready to pop. But if you notice that they like to hug close when they jump in, and they do jump in often, you can put a trap up here, even, and then as soon as you see him jump around, if he's hugging close, he'll die. If he goes around long, then he won't. But it's always worth a shot. If you want to get a little more meta, if you know that you're going to have to fall really far back and you don't really have time to just bush trap, you can also put stickies up here. You'll see somebody like Banny using this kind of trap. He's kind of notorious for some really weird oddball traps, so it's fun to watch nonetheless. As for when you get pushed on, generally as a Demoman, you just want to make sure that as they come in, you're putting down spam. So as soon as the team starts actually Ubering, you're spamming them, making sure they have to Uber through. Or if you want to try and get a trap, you might not want to spam them. Put some keep some pressure off for a second. Maybe try and bait the medic into a trap so they can drop. Either way, however you want to play it. you'll be falling back either gray bridge or back left, depending on where your team falls, and you're going to reset up, and then from that point, you basically set up how you would set up for holding a stacked spire, which is your bottom left, or your upper battlements coming from right side, and the only reason you'd ever come from middle side is if you don't have to worry about getting spammed yet, and you know that they're going to jump spire, but they haven't yet. If they have presence on spire, then coming from this direction is a bad idea. So next up, we got to move on to Badlands middle. Now, Badlands middle is really easy to hold. I probably don't need to tell you much about this, but I will anyway. So on Badlands middle, generally what you're going to do is when you're just holding it, is you're going to be in a position kind of on either crates or down here, and you just want to make sure that you are keeping pressure on choke. You don't want to try and let the demo man come up and just put pointless spam out on you. Just make sure that they're pressured back. Don't give them an opportunity to run and jump a soldier in up here. Make sure you're always watching it. You're always ready to stand them back. You see an opportunity to pick somebody up because they overextend as well. That's cool. If you're at an uber disadvantage, though, that's where defense becomes more important. And there's some things that you can do here in terms of traps. That's first things first. You can put 4 up here. You can always put stickies up on the side. If you're at like a really bad uber disadvantage and you don't have the opportunity or luxury to put a trap up close, and you think they're going to come from choke, or you think they're just going to push in general, you can also do something like this, or just put stickies on top. Try and deter jumping soldiers from taking any kind of height advantage they can get. The reason why this trap would work is because if a soldier very commonly will jump up on these crates and then he'll walk straight off, you'll be able to det and get in as he does that, which can be pretty effective. If you know that they're going to come from house, or you think they're going to come from house, or you just want to put one up just in case, it's always a good idea to just put a 4 trap up there. Or if you want to try and get a drop, or a better chance of dropping their medic, you can put 4 over here and try and get them as they're in. As soon as they uber through, though, even if they uber through, if you just det as soon as they uber through, most of the time soldiers are going to try and jump, and if you det that, they'll go flying, and usually that'll disorient them and make it so they're out of the battle, or they're not going to do much with that uber if you can make that soldier go flying. Now, from his point on, we need to go and approach Spire from the other side. Now, let's say, just for the hell of it, that you have Spire capped at this point, and you just respawn, and they have a stacked Spire, as in they're trying to recap Spire from their last, pushing up on you. When you respawn or whatever, first thing you should do is just jump through choke and start charging stickies. And charge stickies and spam them at that point, and don't stop. It's really easy as a demo man to spam this point, and if you're getting spammed or they have pressure up forward, you can also just stay all the way back here and spam stickies from this position. And you can hit 40, 50, 60 damage shots and pressure them off the Spire, or at least light them enough that your team, a soldier, can come in and jump and finish it off. Now, when you have Spire and you're playing back, you're at an uber disadvantage, you expect they're going to push on you, or you fail to push, you manage to get out early, and you're still alive, and you want to try and hold Spire. One of the things that you should do almost every single time, regardless, even if it's predictable and they know that you're going to do this, is put up a trap like this. Basically, you put 4, 5 up here. Usually, if I have the time, I'll put the other 3 over there, or I'll put the other 3 up on top of the point, just to try and maybe get a soldier when he's jumping. The reason why this trap is really effective is because when a scout tries to get on Spire, they only have 1 route, or actually they have technically 2 if they jump around from this side, but it won't matter since this trap will still get them. They only have really 1 key way they can actually get on the point and start putting cap presence, and that is coming up this direction. Now, what scouts will very often do is they'll come up here and they'll try and jump, but regardless, if you put the trap right here, no matter what a scout does, he cannot get on Spire. Essentially, by having that trap in that position, the scout can't do anything. They can't get on the point. And by denying the scouts from Spire, it makes it a lot more defensible for your team. It makes it a hell of a lot easier for your team to defend this point. It makes it a hell of a lot harder for the other team to cap this point. So basically, the point of this trap is to just keep scouts off the Spire. A lot of times, scouts will fall for it. Very often. Even if you've done it before, just because they don't have any other choice, they'll have to come up here. Now, if they start getting wise to it, what they might do is they might see you holding over on Pride Rock or holding over back, which is where you'll be if you're holding back, expecting them to push on your Spire. and they'll just start jumping at you instead, which is still fine because at least at that point they aren't getting inspired. Your teammates will probably have more time to respawn or get in position or hold it off. Generally, the longer a Spire fight lasts and you have it capped and you still have the forward spawn, your team's going to be at a huge disadvantage in that case. Now when you're pushing up, sorry, I think I meant huge advantage. Now when you're going to push up into next point, you have several options. Most of the time, a demo might have a tricky sticky trap up in major, so what a lot of teams will do is they'll either climb Spire or they'll push from far right just because it's harder for a Demoman to trap that. And you yourself should keep in mind that that itself, because you don't want to walk through, get blown on when you're trying to push, and then your Demoman's down, because Demoman is the most important class when you are trying to push. But either way, when you're trying to set up for a more inner hold, generally you come in from the right side, or you come in from straight on top of the point and going top side. If a team is holding an upper, then you're going to have to play it slow, either push from top, or if you manage to actually get in lower lobby, then what you're going to want to do is you can spam stickies and rollers just to force them back, and then you can take position to get in a defensive spot. Now, when you're up in this position, there's not much you can really do. It pretty much comes down to you can put stickies above the control point sign. You can try and trap bottom right and maybe get a pick from this position. And that's going to be about the two binary choices that you have. You can try and do some cutesy stuff like get an overheal and maybe try and spam some pipes to light them if you'd like and make sure you don't get picked. Or you can just put stickies down in main to make sure that a scout can't rush a sniper if you guys are playing it. Otherwise, there's not much to do here. You just kind of wait, make sure that the other team can't push on you by putting stickies up here, put spam through if you have the opportunity, and just wait for your team to get uber or to make a play in a position where you're going to push on the last. Now, generally that's how you would hold in the positions you should generally be playing when you're holding on Badlands on those 5 points from each perspective. Now, if you have any questions or if there's something that wasn't very clear to you, you need any help, you can leave me a comment or you can send me an email at carsonweeds@gmail.com and I'll leave a comment with that email. And thanks very much for watching.